Hey 12s! Something really serious is starting to take shape in Seattle, and this isn't hype, and it's not just pregame noise. When certain signs show up in January, it's not just one spot on the depth chart that's at risk. It's the whole plan. It's the identity. It's the season. A critical point on the offensive line has officially landed on the concern radar, and when that happens, the entire offense starts operating on the edge. Protection changes, play calls change, confidence changes. And as if that wasn't enough, a major hit in the backfield already forced the Seahawks to move fast, tweaking the roster sooner than a lot of people expected. Now behind the scenes, a market decision is gaining steam, and it could reshape some big priorities for this franchise. So stick with me to the end, because when all of these things hit at once, it's not a coincidence. It's a test! And the first red flag is showing up exactly where no team wants issues in January: the offensive line, specifically the left side, one of the most sensitive positions in football. Wednesday's injury report lit up an alarm nobody wanted to see heading into the NFC Championship against the Rams. None of the three main left tackle options practiced. Charles Cross, the starter. Josh Jones, the top backup. And Amari Kite, who's been the emergency option. All out. When that happens, it stops being an individual problem and becomes structural. Cross returned in the win over the 49ers after missing the final 3 games of the regular season with a hamstring issue. But last week he was already on the report with a knee issue, and now he's dealing with a foot injury too. That's a dangerous pileup for a player who needs to be close to 100% to handle an aggressive Los Angeles pass rush. Left tackle is in a play through its spot. Either you're ready, or you become the target. Josh Jones, who missed all of last week and didn't play against San Francisco because of his knee, is now listed with both knee and ankle issues. Mike McDonald had already suggested earlier that he didn't expect to see him on the field for this practice, which tells you this wasn't some surprise internally. But just because it was expected doesn't make it comfortable. Not even close. And then there's Amari Kite, an undrafted rookie with stops at Alabama and UCF, who's also dealing with a knee injury. Even so, he got on the field last game and held up well across 17 offensive snaps, plus he contributed on special teams. That shows guts, commitment, and readiness. But it also highlights how much improvising Seattle may be forced into during one of the biggest games of the decade. And when you zoom out, it gets even heavier. 14 players showed up on Wednesday's injury report. 3 were limited purely for rest: DeMarcus Lawrence, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Leonard Williams, which makes sense at this point of the season. But quarterback Sam Darnold is still limited with an oblique injury that popped up last week, and that directly impacts the offensive plan, especially in a game where mobility and quick processing are essential. Bryce Cavaldew, Uchenna Nwosu, and Robbie Utes were also limited, each dealing with their own issue. A report like this changes protections, changes tempo, changes the call sheet, and demands maximum creativity from the coaching staff. It's not just about who plays. It's about how you protect what you have without taking the teeth out of the plan. In the middle of all that, the good news came from the backfield. George Holani was a full participant in practice for the first time since being designated to return from injured reserve. He'd been dealing with a hamstring issue, and his return comes at a critical moment, right after the devastating loss of Zach Charbonnet, who suffered a torn ACL against the 49ers and is out for the rest of the playoffs. Charbonnet's injury isn't just losing talent. It's losing depth, rhythm, and identity. Kenneth Walker is a high-level running back, but nobody carries an offense alone in January. Seattle knows that. And they move quickly. Adam Schefter confirmed the news, making it clear the franchise didn't want to leave the roster exposed. Holani might not be a name that grabs casual attention, but inside the building he knows the system, understands the reads, contributes as a runner and a receiver, and brings something this roster desperately needs right now: mental security. In a big game, one mental mistake can end your season. Stat-wise, Holani had limited usage throughout the year, with 22 carries for 73 yards and a touchdown. That's not headline production, but it's context. Limited opportunities, inconsistent line play, and a specific role. In an NFC championship, sometimes what you need isn't a star, it's someone who executes the basics with confidence, protects the quarterback, and keeps the offense on script. If Holani is active, that's already a real boost for Seattle. Now, shifting to the defense, there's a storyline flying a bit under the radar, but it says a lot about the future of this franchise. Kobe Bryant, a fourth-round pick in the 2022 draft, has been developing steadily and quietly, turning into a key piece in this defensive system. No noise, no spotlight, he's become exactly the kind of player every defensive coach values. According to an analysis by Mo Moton of Bleacher Report, Bryant is putting himself in position to land a meaningful deal this offseason. Over the last 2 years, he's totaled 7 interceptions and 13 pass breakups. Even more impressive is the consistency in coverage. He's allowed only 3 touchdowns since 2024 and has held opposing passers to a rating under 78 in back-to-back seasons. That doesn't happen by accident. That's film study, positioning, and discipline inside the scheme. Bryant can line up as a free safety or in the slot, matching up with everything from speed receivers to bigger, more physical targets. He still has areas to clean up as a tackler, with an error rate that stands out, but ball production carries real weight in the market. Safety isn't seen as a premium position, but in systems that depend on versatility and communication, losing a player like that doesn't just mean losing a name. It means losing an entire role in the structure. The problem is the Seahawks also have to look ahead at Devin Witherspoon, who's likely due for a major extension soon. The cap doesn't forgive you. And tough decisions show up when multiple talents hit their prime at the same time. Bryant is going to draw interest in free agency, and Seattle will have to decide whether to get into a financial battle or accept the risk of losing another key piece of the secondary. Bottom line, a lot is happening in Seattle all at once. Critical injuries at sensitive positions, important returns at the right time, depth getting pushed to the limit, and players stepping onto the field knowing every snap is also about future, contract, and staying power. This is the kind of situation that doesn't fully show up in the box score, but it defines seasons. And when I say the coaching staff is being tested, I'm not talking about speeches or obvious decisions. I'm talking about tactical choices that fans only really notice when the game starts. Sliding protection with tight ends, leaning on play action to slow down pressure, changing the launch point, speeding up reads, or even sacrificing volume for security. All of it comes down to trusting who's available and reading the moment correctly. Mike McDonald knows he can't expose his quarterback, but he also knows pulling too much aggression out of the plan is the fastest way to lose control of the game. On the other side, the Rams will attack every doubt, every mismatch, every hesitation, looking for any sign of weakness. It's chess at full speed, played with almost no margin for error. To the fan, it can look like simple execution. But behind it is a full week of tough conversations, hard decisions, and calculated bets. That's what makes this moment so heavy, and at the same time, so fascinating for anyone who truly lives Seahawks football. There's no room for mistakes on a stage like this. This is exactly where character, preparation, and identity show up. Seattle has been here before. They've felt this weight. And they've learned the hard way that surviving in January takes more than raw talent. It takes collective trust, discipline, and the nerve to execute under maximum pressure. Sunday is going to answer a lot. But the way this team responds already says a lot about who they are right now. Now I want to hear from you 12s. What worries you the most in this situation? The offensive line concerns? The hit in the backfield? Or the tough decisions this franchise may have to make on defense looking ahead? Drop your comment and jump into the conversation. And if this kind of deeper, behind-the-scenes, context-heavy breakdown is your thing, make sure you hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and stick with me, because this story is nowhere near over, and the next chapters are going to say a lot about what this Seahawks team really is. Go Hawks!